Hello everyone, welcome back to a new episode of How Do I Beat This? Today's episode is going to be focused on how to deal with a Terran push and just looking at the concepts behind how to deal with a Terran push. Not necessarily, obviously also specific to this game, but in general, what are the ways to deal with Terran pushes? How do you scout them? Like, what are the clues that Terran usually gives us? How do we interpret them? And then how do we deal with them? Obviously, so kind of three parts. I'd like to thank Baby Pixel for sending this replay. Also like to thank everyone else who's been sending me replays. The problem with that is the volume that I've been getting is slightly too high. I've been receiving somewhere between 30 and 50 replays a day, so I haven't been able to respond to all of them, and of course I haven't been able at all to cover even a small percentage of them, so I'm sorry for that. But responding to all of them individually would take so much time out of my day that I deem it not extremely worth, so I hope that this reaches all the people who are patiently waiting for me to go over their replay or even respond to them. I'm sorry for that, but there's a good chance it's not going to happen. And it's just something you have to deal with. I'm sorry. But if we take a look at this game, we see Baby Pixel playing a good opener here. Now, I always say the start of getting good foundations in StarCraft 2 is actually focusing on those foundations by having good build orders and practicing those build orders. Now, I have a lot of build order guides. I like to recommend a guide I have called Crazy Colossus, I believe, where I show a 3-gate robo opener in PvT, which is extremely solid. You can scout with it. Now, when you see a build order like that, or my last week's build order where I explain how to do a 4-gate adapt glaive, a lot of people will look at that and they'll play it at the ladder, and they might win, they might lose, and they were like, all right, I now know the build order, I can throw it in when I want. But the thing you want to be doing is you want to be practicing this build order against the AI multiple times before even thinking about playing it against a human opponent. You want to be hitting at the same timing as I am. You want to be, or at least as close as you can. And just the practice on that early execution is going to improve your macro so much. It's going to make you realize that even in the first 5 minutes, you're going to be floating money, you're getting supply blocked, your building positioning is off, you're not producing pros when you're supposed to. And then if you play it 4 or 5 times, you're going to be very close to your current peak of what you can achieve with that build. So you might still be down 20 seconds of when I am hitting, but you're still going to be a lot faster than you would be if you just take it to the ladder initially, because improving is a lot easier if you focus on something like that. So imagine you take it to the ladder, you get 1 PVZ, you do the 4-gate glaive adept build, and then you get 3 PvPs, and you kind of forgot already how to play that glaive adept build once you hit your next PVZ, and every time improvement is really slow. So what might be done in 4 games against the AI might take 30 or even 40 ladder games, or you might even never get to the same level as just 4 games against the AI. So the speed of improvement is way faster if you truly focus on improving that initial build order already. And you see this all the way up to Masters 1, Low Grandmaster, where just the build orders aren't tight, and you can really get a lot of improvement there. So far we see a proper build order by the Baby Pixel. He's opening with Adept, Stalker, Sentry, Fast Robo, 3-gate. This is exactly the builder I was discussing earlier from the Crazy Colossus guide, which is a couple of months old, but still works as a charm. You get a fast 3rd base, and you just make sure to have all your units in position. Get the 3rd base before your first warp in, and then once you start your 3rd base, you start your first warp in immediately. Whenever you move on the map to take towers, always keep in mind that stuff can come from different directions. So imagine 2 Hellions would be here going into the main. That would suck. Just send a single adept there. It's completely fine. We'll be able to deal with everything properly. Now, we see our mistake, or well, our mistake. The mistake of the Baby Pixel here already is that he did not warp in straight after he built the Nexus, which I kind of always say you should be doing. His Hallucination Scout is late. He could be using the Hallucination Scout the moment he hits 75 energy. And now, the moment you scout these things, when you scout a tank and Marines and a starport, building stuff, your main idea should be to build units. It's like, hey, these are a lot of units from buildings that are basically, these are short-term investment units, majority of the time. When you see Starport without an add-on, basically this setup, the 111, the barracks, factory, and starport, is a setup that really indicates heavy tank pressure or cyclone pressure, because the Terran isn't really advancing themselves, right? There's no tech lab with stim, there's no tech lab with combat shield, so in the near future, all the Terran will have will be Marines, basically. It's going to be Marines with certain tech units, like a tank, maybe 2 Liberators, stuff like that. Now, the way to deal with that is to delay your own tech. So we're going to be delaying our Robo Bay. Instead, what we do is we get more units, but we don't stop building our economy, because it's possible our opponent builds a third base with this or continues their own economy. So we continue building probes, but we just get more units. Usually, I always say, as long as you see a starport and a factory building units like this, without a second and a third barracks inside, continuously be building units from all the production structures that you have. Don't tank up, but keep building economy as well. So economy and army is what we're focusing on. Technology is completely irrelevant. By the time we see a second barracks go down and a third barracks go down, we could be like, hey, now we could throw down our Robo Bay, you know? At some point, maybe if we're floating some money, we can throw down a forge, but no tech. We don't need tech units whatsoever. That's not necessary. Now, another thing that is nice, when you see your opponent opening with tanks, cyclones, that kind of stuff, you know that there can't be a mine drop like this if they have tanks this fast, which means the period where Terran is moving across the map, your bases are safe from any real harassment. So what you do is you grab 4 stalkers, just 4, you don't need more than that, and you walk towards his army to just snipe 2 or 3 Marines, or just make sure that he pushes the Marines back behind the tank, which slows down his push a bit. Maybe, you know, if a Liberator is too far forward, you can hit it. And you just do that with 4 Stalkers, because in case there is some harass, you still want to keep the rest of your army at home. Now, with this specific build, you get an Immortal, more gateway units, and a thing that is really cool that you can do. Imagine you have the 4 Stalkers over here, and Terran wants to move into this area. You can move your stalkers to the side. You can move them up here. You can start catching reinforcements in this general area. Tank pushes always take very long to set up. And this is a concept that isn't limited to robotics facility. Imagine you have Blink. You can go with Blink behind here. You cut off the reinforcements. And then once you think you can kill him, you also set yourself up with a flank immediately, naturally. You have a flank from the back. So imagine we have the 4 stalkers here, picking up reinforcements. Terran is set up here. No reinforcements can join. Protoss keeps adding more and more reinforcements, and then eventually you come from 2 sides. So A, you have a natural flank, and B, you're cutting off growth towards this push. So even though this initial fight I don't think necessarily was bad, the problem is that this push keeps growing. You want to always stop Terran pushes from growing. Now imagine you say, well, what if I have Stargate? I don't even have enough units to defend my main. Right. Then you just fly with your Stargate units behind. Imagine you have 4 Phoenixes. Fly them here. Pick off these Marines. Pick off this tank. Maybe a Liberator or a Viking or a Medevac tries to fly to the main army. These are ways to make sure that the push doesn't grow. And people say, well, I might lose my base. Yeah, very unlikely. Tanks are really, really bad at moving forward on siege. They're really slow. You see how, this push is going to take a long time for it to do any economical damage. Even if there's a small army there, a single force field can delay this a bit. Now look at the time here. At 5:20, basically, this was a setup, right? Now it's killing a gate now, which is nice, but doesn't really do that much, right? The only reason this Terran is doing damage right now is because Baby Pixel is attacking. Otherwise, the Terran would first kill these 2 gateways, then slowly tank forward. Now, during all of this, he's still getting reinforcements. That's the issue. This push wasn't the issue. This push was 2 tanks and 4 Marines and a Liberator. Now, you can go into the unit tester map and see how easy it is to beat 2 Liberators, 4 Marines and 2 tanks. That's not that hard, but the bigger this push becomes, the more reinforcement you get, the better it gets, really, because you should have been delaying your tech. So you're just getting worse units, basically, than him. And his army keeps growing at the same rate as yours. Yeah, you're gonna lose. And that's why you don't allow him to get to that size of army. Now still, he hasn't really done any damage to any of your economy, to anything really. Now you could say, well, but what if he runs 6 Marines in here? That's his entire Marine force. Let him run 6 Marines in there. You have 4 Stalkers in the back. You have maybe 5 Stalkers and an Immortal here. you just kill the rest of his army. So he can't really send single units or small forces away to do economical damage, because those units will just die. He needs to move at the speed that these tanks are pushing forward. And that's, first of all, try to meet him on the map, like I said. Then try to follow up with cutting off reinforcements. These are such important things. It's absolutely crucial in dealing with Terran. And once again, delayed attack. We can continue unit production, continue getting more economy, and we can even get upgrades. But tech is the least important thing. Look, opponent, I see he's floating 1.4k minerals or 1.5k minerals, but a lot of the time during this kind of pushes and this kind of Terrans, look how late these barracks are. Why would we need Colossi against a tank push? We want Immortals, we want more units. That's what we really need. Yeah, sure, this looks strong, but don't forget the initial push was only 2 tanks and 4 or 5 Marines. And a Liberator. Now there's 3 Liberators, 5 tanks. Still a very low Marine count, but you get my point. That's really the key feature that we need to be looking at when dealing with Terran pushes is cutting off reinforcements. First of all, identifying that it's happening. Now, this is a good identifier. The 1-1-1 setup. No second, no third barracks. No fast third CC. It's a good identifier. Then we meet it in the middle of the map. Then we cut off reinforcements and we come from 2 sides. These are really the 3 steps on dealing with Terran pressure in general. Now, if you did enjoy this episode of How Do I Beat This, feel free to like, subscribe, comment down below. It helps me a lot. And otherwise, I'll see you all tomorrow for a new episode of a new show. Looking forward to it. Bye bye.